A new trend has developed in gaming over the last handful of years. This has been the rise of the use of prologues in relation to certain games. This usage of prologue hasn't always been very clear to me. A prologue is usually a part of a story that comes before and sets the stage for the main narrative to take place. However, within video games recently, it seems like it has been used as another word for demo. This can make it unclear what games are actual prologues and which games are not. The game I'm looking at today is an actual prologue, and that game is Project Cat, which is the prologue to Paper Lily. Was Cat an enjoyable experience on its own? Did it simply pique my interest in the main game it's trying to promote? Or was it not a great time? Let's take a look and find out. Project Cat is a horror adventure game developed by Leaf 6010. It was released in 2021 for PC. It is a free-to-play game, and while this is an indie and doesn't have a set rating with the ESRB, I would definitely put this as an M-rated game. It can be pretty disturbing, and the horror theme is definitely a big presence here. In Project Cat, you control Cat, a high school girl who is trying to perform some sort of ritual at her school during the night. It's not fully clear why she's trying to do this ritual. At the start of the game, she seemed the type that does this to prove how these rituals are nothing but superstitious nonsense. However, as the story progressed, there seemed to be some reason why she wants one of the rituals to work. So much of your game is setting up and dealing with the consequences of going through with the ritual. Now, while this may sound straightforward, the game itself isn't linear. There are multiple endings that you can achieve by playing. I know I was able to experience at least 3 during my playthrough, and I think there are even more than that. Do you change some things up from the ritual's instructions that you're given at the beginning of the game? Do you chicken out and just head home? Or do you follow all of the instructions to the letter? The game is open-ended enough to allow you to do all of these things to a certain degree. For a rather short free-to-play title, I really enjoyed the story. It's not long, as I was able to achieve 3 endings in just a little over an hour of playtime, but the story really intrigued me and created a nice, tense environment, even though there aren't really any monsters or anything to battle or avoid like in some horror titles. The description on Steam's store page for the game refers to this as an RPG horror game, but the RPG title doesn't really seem to fit in my mind. Project Cat is more of an adventure style game. You talk to people and find items that you need in order to progress the story. There are even a few light puzzles throughout the game as well for you to solve as you're trying to set up the ritual. The gameplay is definitely on the simple side, but I didn't really mind that. Project Cat seems more interested in telling a story and setting up a certain kind of environmental feeling than in its gameplay. And this is what makes me hesitant to go with the RPG designation. There is no combat, there's no leveling up, or getting stronger in the game in any way. It's all about finding what you need to progress the story, and it felt much more like an adventure style game in that regard. While I have no major complaints about the gameplay, there are a few things I would have liked to see. I wish there was a way to know how many possible endings there were, and mark if you've earned that ending. Having a gallery also would have been nice for the various scenes in the game. These aren't anything serious, but it would have been nice to be able to keep track of what you've accomplished in the game. I very much enjoyed the art style of Project Cat. There are 2 sides to this art style. The first side is the pixel art that makes up much of the gameplay portions. The pixel art here is really well done overall, presenting both the mundane reality of a school building while also making some disturbing scenes along the way as well. My only real complaint about the pixel art is that the character models aren't really very expressive. In part, this is due to the second side of the art style, and that is the drawing of characters in certain scenes in the game. When there is dialogue in the game that requires expressiveness, you get to see a more expressive character in this format instead of the pixel format. There were also certain scenes of the game where you are treated to a more detailed art style and getting a full scene instead of the pixel style. And I really like this combination of art styles, and it worked really well to create a game that was nice to look at but could also be creepy when it needed to be. I also like the sounds of the game too. While there isn't a lot of variety in music or sound effects, everything is used well. From the upbeat music that indicates areas that were safer to the more tense tracks that indicate mystery and maybe a sense of danger, the music is always fitting. Sound effects are also good at adding to the tense moments as well. All this to say that I was fairly impressed with both the art and sound design going on here, especially for a free-to-play game. It does a great job of creating a world that both feels normal and has a dark, supernatural underbelly. I really enjoyed Project Cat. While it is just a prologue for another game that I am very excited to try out now, it also stood up as a solid experience all on its own. Of course, it is a rather short experience, but I did still find it to be good. Just remember not to be expecting an RPG, and you're probably not going to be too disappointed here. Personally, I'm rating Project Cat a 9 out of 10. While I really enjoyed the game overall, I still have to admit that it is a very short experience and mostly leaves you wanting to know more about the world that you just visited for this very short period of time. As a prologue, that's a great result to have. Measuring it on its own, it isn't quite as satisfying. Still though, for a free-to-play story experience, you really can't go too wrong with Project Cat. That is assuming you don't mind the horror themes present in the game. It's definitely not a full experience that will leave you completely satisfied, but it will be a nice little snack of a game that doesn't take too long, but it can also take longer if you're wanting to hunt down all the different endings the game has. This prologue does its job well though. It is an introduction to the world of Paper Lily, and I must say that I'm very excited to give that game a try. Still, for a prologue game, Project Cat exceeded my expectations, and I found it to be a very enjoyable experience all on its own, while still doing its job of making me want more.